All right, welcome to Cyclone InCYders. This is our first edition of the year. My name is John Miller. I will be your host. I'm here with Max, Tyler, and Aaron. We're going to talk about some Cyclone sports. Most notably, football had a huge upset over Oklahoma this weekend, and soccer and volleyball had some interesting matches as well that we're going to discuss. So we'll be ready to dive into that next on Cyclone InCYders. The Iowa State Cyclones, unranked, came in and beat number 18 Oklahoma 37-30 at home. Was the first time they beat Oklahoma since 1960. What are you guys' just general thoughts on the game? And, is this the biggest win or upset in program history?
I think it's a great win. I think it's a great way to set the tone after we lost to Louisiana in the first week. I think it shows the country that we do deserve to be in the top 25. We do deserve to be a ranked team. And I think it was really huge because it puts us in contention Big 10 championship, no, Big 12 championship game. So I think it's really important that we won.
Yeah, I think it was a huge win. I think the win against Oklahoma in 2017 was bigger just because, 31-point underdog. It was Kyle Kemp's first start after Jacob Park was no longer the quarterback.
Yep.
And that was kind of like the first signature win under Matt Campbell. But I think the key difference now 3 years later is that I'm shocked to see us beat Oklahoma in Ames in 68. The country was really shocked. It was more of like a pleasant, surprise, but it wasn't really shocking to see us beat Oklahoma, and that's the difference in how far Matt Campbell has brought the program in his time.
Yeah, no,
that was very monumental. And I completely agree with you on how it was a signature win for Matt Campbell. But again, it wasn't a surprise. I certainly think it was a key win. It definitely helped set the tone for the rest of the year, perhaps. But no, I definitely agree with you on that, Aaron.
Yeah, so you guys kind of have like some things in the game that you were surprised by or like you thought maybe wouldn't happen.
I'm gonna say go out and talk about Xavier Hutchinson. He's definitely one to watch. I mean, he had a few receptions in the two games prior to Oklahoma. But he had his first touchdown pass with 65 yards. I know it was just an overall solid game. I feel like he's a name to watch the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Well, I was surprised by the trick play Dylan Sainer to Chase Allen, 20-yard completion. It's nice to know that.
Yeah.
We have that in the bag of Allen play. I'll go with Daryl Simmons. He started the past couple games with Trevor Downing hurt. He's been playing right guard. He's a true freshman. He looked really good against TCU, and he looked really good again against Oklahoma. He's had, I believe, a couple freshmen that are true who have played well against two really good front sevens in TCU and Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, Iowa State's kind of turning into, tight end U with Kohler and then Allen and so on are definitely solid as well. So, those are just interesting to see, us have that progression at that position. What do you think, Tyler?
I agree with everything that you guys pointed out. One more player that I think deserves recognition is Breece Hall. Obviously, he went out and even like he became Big 12 Player of the Week, but he's really stepping up and filling in the shoes that like David or Montgomery left behind, and he's only a sophomore, so like he's we still got him for at least another year. He's doing great, and I think the future looks really bright for him.
Yeah, going off that, I mean, you bring up Hall there with his Big 12 Player of the Week and some national recognition, across the board. Do you guys think he's kind of surpassed Purdy as a leader of the offense, or is he just another big piece that we have?
I at first last year, if you asked me that, I would say he's just another big piece we have. But this year, he's certainly proved himself to be the leader of the offense. I mean, he had 139 rushing yards the first game compared to Brock Purdy's 145 passing yards, which is impressive. Hall had a total of 6 touchdowns in 2020, but 9 touchdowns this year already, averaging 132 yards a game. To me, that's impressive, just right off the bat. Brock Purdy, I mean, definitely a key guy to our team. He's a beloved figure of Iowa State University, hands down. But this year, I mean, and there's certainly a lot of factors that come into play, given the fact with coronavirus. There's just it doesn't feel real sometimes to me anyway. And I certainly don't know how the players feel about this. But I mean, there's just so many different protocols. I assume practices have to be a little different. I mean, there's only 10 games, 9 conference games. Purdy, last year for the first 3 games, he had a total of 6 passing touchdowns with 989 yards. And then this year he only has 2 passing touchdowns with 610 yards as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say Purdy has had a little bit of an efficiency problem. He was 12 for 24 against Oklahoma, but he did make the plays when we needed him to make the plays. His completion percentage, I believe, is somewhere around 56% so far this year. So obviously you'd like to see that number go up, but just with what we saw against Louisiana, I think the Cyclones offense is at its best when Purdy, Hall, and Kohler are all healthy, because the past 2 games against TCU and Oklahoma, Kohler has been a part of the offense and he has been healthy, and things are clicking a lot better. He's obviously the favorite target of Purdy. So I do definitely think that Breece Hall is the most key player on the offense now, and we're going to get a lot of wins just with him on the ground, setting up the pass, hopefully setting up some play action for Purdy as well. But we need all 3 of those guys to be healthy to really click in if they're going to win a Big 12 championship this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think I like it how Max pointed out that Purdy has 2 touchdown passes. On the other hand, Breece Hall has 6 touchdowns he's already run for. So he's already scored. Obviously, running backs score more than quarterbacks like that. But I just think that shows how important he is and essential to this offense.
Yeah, no, I think you guys all make excellent points here, but it's just interesting because it's like Purdy came into the year as like a long shot Heisman contender. Everybody was talking about him like he was going to just have that blowout year and be like Big 12 MVP player of the year type numbers. And then Breece had a phenomenal year as a freshman, but now it's like, he's almost been at another level here in these first couple games. So yeah, I agree. If those 2, if we just have our whole offense healthy, we could be a dangerous team down the stretch. And I think everybody else knows that as well. And with that being said, what do you guys think are going to be some keys, to keep this streak kind of rolling heading forward?
Well, kind of what I said, just with Kohler, stay healthy, obviously, is the biggest one, and that's the biggest one for any team. You want your key players to stay healthy, but also just the receivers continuing to build confidence, because really the only 2 big receivers we have back this year who were targets of Purdy's last year are Tariq Milton and Charlie Kohler. Now they're both healthy. And Sean Shaw had a couple touchdowns last year as well, but he's obviously hoping to take a step forward this year. And we have Xavier Hutchinson, who had kind of a breakout game against Oklahoma. And there's Joe Skates, who's a sophomore as well. So there's some new pieces to this offense who are hoping to kind of get things going and get more chemistry in the offense. But definitely just all those guys, plus with Milton and Kohler, we already know what they bring to the table. And then obviously Breece Hall and Brock Purdy just continuing to be themselves. Purdy's in a little bit of a rough stretch right now compared to the rest of his career, but I do have confidence in him as the season progresses. And like you said, Max, it's been kind of a weird year so far with COVID, so we don't know what's been on his mind, but as he gets more comfortable as the season goes along, I do have confidence in Purdy to pick it back up and Breece Hall just to continue to do what he's been doing.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Tyler.
Oh, I was gonna say, thank you. I know this is kind of beyond the players' control, but I think having fans at the stadium, I think that's going to play a huge part going forward. I was at the game on Saturday, and it was amazing. It was really cool. It felt like there was just so much energy there, and obviously it wasn't full 100% capacity, but there was definitely a home field advantage, and I think that that's going to play a big impact moving forward in games.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Tyler, because that game against Louisiana was pretty sketchy to watch. With absolutely no, I mean, were there fans in the stadium? Just, I mean, very few.
There was only
Louisiana?
family members.
Just family.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Now with allowing 15,000 people, that can make a significant difference. I mean, I know this is a little off topic, but look at the NBA. I mean, that certainly plays. I mean, home court, home field advantage plays a significant role in how a team performs and how they feel about playing, their motivation to succeed. But no, just like going off what you said, Aaron, maintaining health among the players as long. Jaquan Bailey, I mean, he's certainly come out this year and he's having a decent year so far. As if he stays healthy on the defense, it will be solid. But no, I mean, I think Purdy once he gets in that if I can speak, that right mindset, I think they can have a successful season.
Yeah, I mean those are all great points. I really like, Aaron, that's how you brought up the new receiving core. I mean, that could also be attributed to a little bit of Purdy's downfall as well, you know, especially with Corona and everything where they're not able to have as much time with each other, you know. Just those things, it's hard to get that exact rhythm that you want on offense. So do you guys, wrapping up here, you guys think that Iowa State is ranked right at the 24th spot right now, or do you think they should be higher, lower? What do you guys think about that?
I think 24th is right because that loss against Louisiana, even though there were some key injuries and Louisiana has proved to be a pretty good team this year, that is still somewhat concerning since we're only 3 games in, and that's only a few weeks ago. It's not, you know, in the distant past or anything. And this is an Oklahoma team with a freshman quarterback in Spencer Rattler, who I do think they're a very good team, but we were fortunate to play them this early in the season because just like on that game-sealing interception by Aisheem Young, I think in November that's a play where Rattler is going to see that safety and he's not going to make that throw as a freshman. And as he gets a little bit more experience in Lincoln Riley's offense, I think he's going to make some better decisions. So it was a big win against Oklahoma, but there are still some concerns with Iowa State. So being just into the top 25, I think, is a good spot for them. I don't think they've earned anything that high yet.
I agree. I think it's really good that we're ranked, but yeah, definitely the loss to Louisiana proves that we're not elite. We're really good. We're definitely top 25, but we're not. We're nowhere near like the top 10 in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think 24 is an appropriate spot. I mean, right now we're currently sitting 31st in the FPI. And like you guys have gone on about the last Louisiana. I mean, it was the first game of the season. It really wasn't a true testament to see how Iowa State would be for the rest of the year. I mean, with the win against TCU and the win against Oklahoma, I think it's an appropriate spot for them right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's nice to see an Oklahoma quarterback and Rattler that threw an interception at the end of the game because we're so accustomed to seeing the past couple of years with, you know, Hurts and Mayfield and Murray. It's just like, you know, they're churning out NFL QBs left and right. And then finally, you know, their 5-star high praise recruit throws the pick at the end of the game for Iowa State. It's just, you know, a refreshing feeling for Cyclone fans. But, yeah, so coming up this week for the Cyclones, they got Texas Tech at 2:30. Should be an interesting one. We're going to do pick 'em for all the Big 12 games later in the show, so stick around for that, and we'll see you after the break. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to Cyclone InCYders. Now we're going to talk about some of the other athletics from last week for Iowa State, soccer and volleyball. So to start, the Iowa State soccer team lost 0-1 to number 12 Texas away in Fort Worth. They controlled the possession and had way more shots in the second half, but the first half TCU just absolutely dominated them, and that's what they scratched that one goal across, and Iowa State just couldn't get it done in the second half, despite having possession and everything like that. So Coach Matt Fannin said their team just wasn't ready to play right away in the first half. How much do you guys think that coaches are to blame in those instances when like a team comes out flat and just not ready to play? Do you think that's more on the players or the coach, or what do you guys think?
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think just in this scenario, it's really hard. Just due to COVID and everything. Everyone's had such a unique year. And obviously these students, they're student athletes. They have school, which school's very different right now. A lot of like online classes for many are just more stressful than in person. So they have that on top of obviously focusing on their athletics. And so I would say ultimately this year, I don't think Iowa State should be concerned about their coaching situation. Just get through the year, stay competitive, which they were. They held it. They competed. They went out and competed. It wasn't a blowout or anything. I think they just need to keep their head up, and I think they'll rebound.
Yeah, and I think when a coach comes out like Coach Fannin and says that the team wasn't ready to play, it's almost like, they're acknowledging that they could have done a better job of preparing the team.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes on both the coaches and the players, but like you said, Tyler, it is a very unique year, and they've played some very good teams so far this year. But Coach Fannin, he's in his first year, and he's had a really rough schedule so far in his first few games. So obviously it should give him some time, but I think he's definitely reflected on that. And I mean, I think that quote shows that I'm sure he knows that he could have done a better job of preparing the team, and I'm sure the team knows that they could have done a better job themselves.
I think in this instance, it definitely falls on the coaches as well. I mean, if you look at last year, Iowa State was 0-9 in the Big 12. They only won, I believe, 3 games overall. Fannin has proved himself to be a good coach when he coached for Bowling Green, placing first in the MAC in 2018 and 2019, then second in 2017. But no, TCU is a very skilled team. I think they just simply outplayed and were more physical than Iowa State. And they played really aggressive defense, considering the fact they had 17 fouls compared to Iowa State's 8.
Yeah, no, I agree there, Max. I've actually had the privilege. I'd had the privilege to talk with Fannin kind of before the season started, and I wrote a piece about his how he came from Bowling Green to Iowa State, and you can just tell in the way he talks that like he's all about his team and his players and just like preparation, and they don't make excuses, but as coaches they'll acknowledge when they mess up, and I think that's what Fannin did here, as you said, Aaron. It's just like it comes down to the players not coming out ready to play, but it also falls on the coaches too at the end of the day, and it's just it is what it is. So like Aaron pointed out, they've had a tough schedule to start the year. They've played 3 ranked teams, I think all in the top 15 in the first 4 weeks, and they won. The only game they've won was against Baylor, who was unranked. That was a thriller at home. But so they're 1-3 through 4 weeks. How do you guys think they will fare the rest of the year when they got the easier part of their schedule coming up? Do you think they'll emerge over 500, or what do you guys think?
It's almost uncertain if you reflect on last year, like I previously said. I mean, they were 0-9. But it's certainly for everybody in the whole world, it's a strange year. And I mean, I don't know if they'll necessarily reach 500, but I believe they can win a few more games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the first time in program history that they've played 3 top 15 teams in the first 4 games. So having this tough of a stretch is definitely something that can actually help them the rest of the way, getting that experience against those really tough teams. That, like you pointed out, John, that second half against TCU was very encouraging. Now they just need to start putting together a full 90 minutes. And Matt Fannin came in as someone who was lauded for his aggressive tactics and his team's attacking strategies in his previous spots where he was coaching. and they've yet to score more than 2 goals than they needed overtime to get that second goal. So if that attack can really start to shape under Fan and start getting some more goals and putting more pressure on the opposing team's defense, then that would be great to see as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think knowing that Fannin said that they weren't ready to play, hopefully he tries to fix that moving forward. So that he tries to make like the necessary adjustments, and I guess it being his first year, we'll really see what he's going to live up to a statement and try to fulfill that. And then just like the rest of the year is going to be speak a lot on him. So if he can really make some moves.
Yeah, definitely a big component of Fannon's philosophy as a coach is just like controlling what they can control as a team and not worrying about their opponents. So I think you're going to see a lot of these storylines in the next weeks about like, oh, we didn't prepare well for this game, or like we did prepare well, that's how we won. He's just kind of all about believing in kind of what you get out, what you put in, and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Fannin will lead the Cyclones and if they'll be above 500 or not. I don't think they've had a winning record in conference since 2005, I believe. So it's been 15 years since they've had a winning record in conference. So this would be a pretty huge task for them to live up to, especially in Fannin's first year. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Moving on to Cyclone volleyball, they've been playing games on back-to-back days against conference teams only. Just as soccer's not playing back-to-back, but they're playing against an only conference schedule. So definitely a change of pace compared to previous years where you're moving around a lot. But so the volleyball team, they've won the first game, and then they lost the second game against Texas Tech and TCU, who were their first two opponents. Why do you guys think that is? You think there's something, correlation to find in winning the first game and losing the second, or what?
I think so. I mean, there's definitely a combination of things. It could potentially be fatigue, considering the fact that they'll play mid-afternoon or mid to late afternoon one day, then early afternoon the next. And I think with that, it's likely that there will be a lot of consistency. I mean, you could easily compare it to, let's say, the Big 12 basketball tournament when Iowa State will play a game at 6 or 7 o'clock one night, then 1 o'clock the next day. I mean, there's just not there's not too much of a grace period for recovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think after you get a win, it's easy to relax and just kind of come back the next day with too much confidence and just not have the same drive and the same mentality that you did for the first game. And I also think that's something that it's a little bit concerning, but I'm sure they've all noticed the trend so far this year of winning the first game and losing the second. And I'm sure it's something they'll work on and that they'll talk about, and just make sure you come back the next day, because the other team is in the same situation as you. They're tired too from that first game. You just got to come back the next day with the same mentality and the same drive and try to grind out another win.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it's the combination of fatigue and just confidence. So, yep.
Yeah. So as we did this show, the volleyball team actually just lost their first game to Texas 0-3, but they did have one competing set. Do you guys think volleyball is a sport where you could get lucky and maybe win a game, or is it just like one of those sports where it's like, if the team's better than you, you're kind of out of luck?
I suppose it can go both ways. I mean, I think height can definitely play an advantage. I'm not familiar with Texas's roster, and they could potentially have a good height advantage. But no, I think there can be a combination of luck and definitely skill and ultimate drive to beat any opponent, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they lost that second set 25-22, and what I saw in that set was actually very encouraging. And there was one kind of controversial call where it looked like a Texas player was in the net, and they still got the point. So honestly, it could have gone the other way. Iowa State might have been able to steal a set if that didn't happen. I believe that was Texas's 23rd point that they got that on. But if they come back tomorrow and they're able to put together a set like that, they could definitely steal a set against Texas. But they obviously, against the number one team in the country, there's a huge talent advantage for Texas. But obviously, you just have to learn from it. And if you don't beat the number one team, it's nothing to be ashamed about. Just learn from it, move on, and try to get some wins on the rest of the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you guys, but I think in volleyball, just simply because it's like the best out of 5 matches, I do think the best team usually wins. I don't think it really falls down to luck so much, simply because you get those 5 chances. It's best out of 5, so usually through those 5, the best team usually prevails. And the team might get lucky for one set or one match, but I think the best team usually pulls out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys there. So the volleyball team last year they finished 17-12 overall, 8-8 in conference. Do you guys think this year they will be able to? Well, I guess it's only conference games. So you guys think they'll be able to finish above 500 in conference this year?
They've never finished under 500 overall under Christy Johnson Lynch since she's been here, I believe, since 2005. And they've made the NCAA tournament 13 of the past 14 years. So I'm going to stick with confidence in head coach Christy Johnson Lynch and Johnson in the resume she's put together at Iowa State. I'm going to say they finish above 500 because they've yet to finish under 500 under her leadership.
You know, and going off of you, Aaron. I mean, I certainly think it's possible for them to finish above 500 given their coach's resume. However, this is a relatively young team, and there's only 3 seniors on it. And I mean, like going back to the different factors, I mean, the scheduling is much different than it usually is, you know. But so really, I believe it can go any way.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll follow the trend. If we continue to win a game and lose a game, we're going to stay on the 500 track. But I think I do know that Hilton, we're going to start allowing fans in Hilton, so we're going to start getting a home court advantage soon. So I think that's going to help out with them just through the leadership of 3 seniors and the knowledge of our coach. She has a winning record. I think we'll be above 500.
Yeah, excellent points there. You know, Christy Lynch, she's been a phenomenal coach for the Cyclones, and last year they made the NCAA tournament. Although there will be no NCAA tournament this year for volleyball and soccer, so we won't really get to see any postseason action out of them unless they change something in the future. So, you know, that sucks, but it is what it is, and you got to make the most out of the regular season action. But either way, we'll be covering them the whole season, so you can look forward to that. We're going to head to break now, and when we come back, we'll do our Big 12 Pick'em segment for the football games this week, including your Iowa State Cyclones against Texas Tech, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Cyclone InCYders. This will be our first Big 12 Pick'em segment of the year. We'll be keeping track of each other's records throughout the year. So in these matchups, we pick based on the spread that is set. So if we think favorite team is going to cover, we pick them or the other team. We'll just go around and get everybody's thoughts and then their why behind behind who they picked. So I guess to start our first matchup, we got the Red River Showdown between the 22nd ranked Texas Longhorns and Oklahoma, who just had that big loss to Iowa State. But despite that, Oklahoma is still favored by 2.5 points. It's going to be played at AT&T Stadium, a neutral site game, so no team is really going to have that home field advantage that we've talked about. What do you guys think? Who's going to win this one?
I'm taking Oklahoma and Rattler to cover and rebound against Texas. I think Rattler is going to watch the film. I'm sure he's watched the film, and he'll learn from his mistakes against Iowa State. And I honestly just think Lincoln Riley is going to outcoach Tom Herman. And if it's a bad enough loss to Oklahoma, it's a rumor every season, it feels like, but Tom Herman could actually legitimately be on the hot seat if he loses the way they lost to TCU, and then if they lose again to this Oklahoma team. But I think it comes down to Lincoln Riley being a better coach and also Oklahoma just maybe being a little bit hungrier than Texas coming off their loss. Texas is going to be hungry too, but I think Lincoln Riley's just going to have the Sooners more prepared.
Oh yeah, going off what you said with neutral John, there's going to be no advantage to either team as far as home field advantage. But horns down, man. I think Oklahoma and Rattler are going to show up, bouncing off the loss against Iowa State. I think it's going to definitely motivate them. No, that's all I got to say.
All right. Well, honestly, I was thinking Oklahoma too, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate and I'm gonna say Texas. Just because you guys are seeing Oklahoma, and we'll see how that goes for me.
Riding the underdog, I love it. I think I'm gonna go with Max and Aaron. I'm just gonna stick with Oklahoma. I think Riley he's an NFL. I mean, I guess you could argue that Herman was too, but Riley's an NFL mind. He's built some great offenses, and I have a hard time believing that they're going to be held down for 3 weeks in a row. So 3-1 for Oklahoma. Now to our next matchup. We got Kansas State coming into TCU to play the Horned Frogs. Horned Frogs favored by 9 points. I thought this was a little steep right off the bat, so I'm curious to see what you guys think.
I'm actually taking TCU to cover.
Okay.
Skylar Thompson, his status is in question, and he's the senior quarterback for the Wildcats. It feels like he's been at Kansas State for like 10 years, honestly. He's been a thorn on Iowa State side. But with him in question and TCU coming off that big win against Texas, and gotta love the homegrown Iowa boy, Max Duggan. He's looked great for the Horned Frogs. I'm taking TCU to back up their play against Texas. I say they cover against Kansas State.
Okay. Max, Tyler, what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, and Duggan's certainly he's having a solid year, and so is Thompson. And trust me, Skylar Thompson is just like Perry Ellis.
They're like football version of Perry Ellis.
But no, both teams are putting on good offenses, but I think TCU has a slight edge on this one.
Okay.
I was actually thinking Kansas State, just because they beat Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, and we beat Oklahoma, and then we beat TCU. So hopefully, I think they'll beat TCU as well.
Yeah, I love it, Tyler, going against the grain. I'm going to go Kansas State as well. Like I said, I think 9's a little too much. You could probably attribute it to the corona this year, but the Big 12 has just been an absolute mess. In previous years, it's like Oklahoma is just a front runner, and like everybody else, you might have one team that's like a surprise, but everybody else just kind of fills the expectations. But this year, it's like you got Oklahoma going down for 2 upsets. Kansas State, you think they're good, and then they lose. TCU lose the game. Baylor's all over the place. It's like you can't find
just a Louisiana.
You can't find consistency across the board, and I think that's what's going to make these matchups hard to guess, and that adds the fun, I suppose. But it's just it's a weird year for sure. So moving on to our last matchup for your Cyclones here, we got Texas Tech coming into Ames on Saturday. As we said before, I was saying ranked 24th. The Cyclones are favored by 12.5 points. Geez, what do you guys think?
I feel weird picking every team that's favored to cover, but this is a little more hopeful than an actual guess or anything. But I think Iowa State covers. They're the better and more talented team than Texas Tech. And this year, if they want to go and win a Big 12 championship, they really need to come out and show it and play better than Texas Tech. And also the quarterback, Alan Bowman, he got hurt in the first quarter last week. And so their backup, Henry Colombi, they're going to have 3 quarters of film on him, but he could be playing as well. And doesn't have as big of an arm as Alan Bowman from what I've seen and heard. And then just that 3-3-5 defense that Iowa State has under Haycock last year. Texas Tech only averaged 4.6 yards per pass, which is really good for their kind of air raid style offense that they have. And also Matt Campbell, he's looking to make it 5 straight against Texas Tech, and Iowa State's 10-1 in October under Matt Campbell. So I see Iowa State covering. I think they come out and just show that they're better than Texas Tech, and they are looking to establish themselves in the Big 12.
Okay.
Nope. I think Iowa State has a greater edge. I mean, Texas Tech's defense is certainly much weaker than Iowa State. They're allowing on average almost like right at 100 yards more a game, and they're allowing 37 points a game compared to Iowa State's 29. Coming into Ames in October when Brock Purdy is the quarterback, you're done. All right, that's all I gotta say.
I agree. I'm going Iowa State. Texas Tech, they have not won a single Big 12 conference game this year, so it's not going to start on Saturday. Not in Ames. We're gonna defend home field, and I really think that Iowa State's going to play with a bigger sense of purpose, just because we can actually win the conference title. We're actually in the contention for that for the first time in a fat while. So we're going to go out there and we're gonna kill them.
Yeah, guys, we're really showing our bias here because I'm picking the Cyclones. I think, like Aaron kind of talked about, we got some phenomenal pressure on Rattler, and even if it doesn't result in sacks all the time, we're wreaking havoc on teams' their plans of what to do and stuff like that. And I think, the offense last week, especially in the second half down the stretch, I mean, we looked excellent. So I know Texas Tech is notorious for having a horrible defense. So if we can just hold them to probably, I don't know, if we hold them to less than 30 or maybe even like 24, we'll be in great shape to win the game. And I think 12 and a half is a lot, but at the same time, like 14 points, you cover that. So it's like 2 touchdowns. I think Iowa State can win by that. So I'm going to go with the Cyclones as well. Full sweep across the board. We'll see how that pays off next week. For all you Cyclone fans out there, you have to stay tuned. 2:30 on Saturday. They'll be taking on Texas Tech, so should be a fun one to watch. See if Iowa State can continue their success, 2-0 in Big 12 play, sitting atop. So it should be a great weekend for Cyclone athletics, and we'll be back next week to talk about it more.